Okay, so welcome everyone. Everyone is talking about digital, but is it new? Just going back 2 decades ago, I found my way into procurement because I wanted to be part of a digital transformation in the works in procurement. I joined a company called Free Markets, which became Ariba, and to help, our mission was to help the Fortune 500 digitize the way they do procurement. And 20 years later, there's still a lot of work we have to do in that department. And the question is why? Well, I can tell you it's not because of lack of technology or technological advancement. Actually, when I look back in the last 20 years, technology in procurement hasn't advanced all that much. A lot of the things that we're working on today, whether it's online auctions or e-catalogs or requisitioning technology, have all been there. But it's just gotten a little fancier and maybe a little bit more complex. So why? Now, based on our experience taking part in observing dozens of transformations in technology or efforts thereof, I can say that all the friction is pointing to people. And today, Mert and I, we thought we would share some of our experiences in these different initiatives and transformations that we have seen or been through, and talk about 3 guaranteed ways that will make your digital initiative a failure so that you can learn from it and not repeat it. I am Alpar and Mert. I'm the founder and CEO of W&S Denali, a next generation procurement ecosystem company. We help procurement organizations build robust ecosystems and elevate their value for the organization. And today I'm joined by Mert Kaçmaz. Mert is the VP of Indirect Procurement at Mars. Welcome, Mert.
Thank you. Thanks, Alpar, and thanks for having me.
So great. So I want to quickly jump to our first fail point that we continue to observe in different transformation initiatives when it comes to digital. And that is making digital your strategy. I've seen so many leaders and so many organizations, when they ask and when I ask about their strategy, they point to digital. We're going to implement such and such tool. We're going to make that our strategy. And to that, there's a few things wrong, right? For me, at least, the way I see technology or platform is really an enabler. To give you an example, I've been working with a global apparel company, a retailer, over the last dozen years or so, right? And I've seen them change their platform 5 times in a very short amount of time. 5 times. In not even a dozen years. I think in a matter of 6 to 7 years, they've changed their platform 5 times. Now, why? Because they initially thought platform was the strategy to add value. And I think they failed initially to ask the question, why? Why do I need this piece of technology? Why do I need this piece of platform? Because if your strategy is to drive compliance, yes, there is a platform to help you with that journey. It's an enabler, but it's not the only way that's going to drive the compliance that you want to drive. If your goal is to, speed up the way you go to market and bring on suppliers, yes, there's a platform that will help you to do that, and you can evaluate what makes sense and implement that. But the platform itself is not going to get there. If your objective is to save money and manage cash, there are various tools and technology that will help you do that better. But again, if you make platform or digital your strategy, it's guaranteed it's not going to be sustainable. And so the first recommendation is not to make digital your strategy.
Yeah.
Mert, any thoughts
Yeah.
there?
Thanks, Alpar. Actually, you are spot on. I mean, technology is an enabler. I'm yet to see during my almost 2 decades of tenure in procurement, yet to see any tool technology fixing the process or organizational problems, right? The technology makes those broken processes or organizational designs actually much more visible because there is no more a place to hide the inefficiencies or broken parts of the process with sheer human power behind the scenes under the table. So spot on. Technology is always an enabler, not necessarily the strategy to go after.
Absolutely. So having a strategy, asking the question, what am I trying to achieve with my organization? And then how can technology, digital tools can be a part of that journey and help me achieve those goals is the way to go rather than making it a strategy. So
yeah, starting with the problem and being very clear on what problem we are trying to solve, indeed.
absolutely. Now, moving on to our second fail point is about trying to find the coolest platform or technology out there that has the best functionality and the feature set. What stories do you have? I know you've been through in your career a few of these transformations. So, what observations have you made, and what advice do you have for our audience?
Yes, Alpar. I was fortunate enough to spend time in Procter and Gamble, then Duracell as part of the Berkshire Hathaway umbrella, and then now last 3.5 years in Mars. And in all those three experiences, I was fortunate enough to be part of or lead from the forefront the source to pay transformation. So I have a lot of stories about the tools. One story could be from P&G to Duracell transition, right? As we discussed on the first fail point, we need to be very clear on what problem we are trying to solve. What is the business strategy that then should drive the procurement strategy as well as the tool choices for procurement? So when we divested from Procter and Gamble to Duracell, we literally spin off Duracell, which was embedded into the infrastructure of Procter and Gamble, to Berkshire Hathaway as part of the divestiture. And during that spin-off within P&G, we built all processes, policies, and technology as well as organizational design based on how P&G had done it, which is based on the P&G's business strategy. So Berkshire Hathaway took Duracell over, and after a certain while, declared a new direction, new business strategy. With that change, we had to really have a hard look in our processes, technology stack, and organizational design for the whole procurement function to enable that business strategy. So some of the tools with a lot of bells and whistles that were very relevant in P&G context, P&G's business strategy, was no longer relevant for Duracell and how Berkshire wants to run Duracell as a company. As a result, we went into really redesigning the processes, starting with the process and the organization, and actually simplified the technology stack significantly for the betterment of the new business strategy. So again, the focus is always simplifying the process and driving the technology decisions really anchored on the real business strategy of the company.
Yeah, that's a great point. Simplification, because the way we sell platform or digital to executives, to management, is that hey, it's going to make life easier. It's going to drive more value, more productivity, more efficiency. And if we all of a sudden, go after all the bells and whistles and the feature set functionality, and we lose the simplicity objective of making making life better and easier for all of the stakeholders that are involved in procurement. I think we missed the point. And certainly technology is there. As you become more mature, there's always a fit for purpose application or a feature set. I remember from our days of trying to implement different um, functionality, whether it's look, I just take online auctions, for example.
Mhm.
There's a standard and simple way to do it, but there are multiple different types of auctions and multiple types of parameters that you can configure, and you can make it more complex. But if an organization starts with the entire toolbox and try to make that or put that to use, it's a tremendous amount of change that you're trying to introduce, making lives more complex for people. So I think the message is clear based on your experience as well. Focus on simplicity. If you're going to roll out a new platform, understand how it's changing the way you do things, and then start with asking the question again, going to why am I doing this, and how can this make this process more efficient and more effective, right?
Mhm.
And then focus on that piece. Great. Now let's move on to our last and third fail point, which is, to me, is the most important one of the things that we've talked about so far, and that is people. It's ignoring the end users and deprioritizing the impact that this transformation and digital on people. And I've been, going out and speaking at conferences and talking to companies, and always the question, well, does technology replace people? Are they gonna, is technology and automation is gonna take our jobs away? And the simple answer is no. Technology is there to drive efficiency. Technology is there to make people more effective and have their time and brain power used into things that adds more value, and ultimately, help in decision making in a more effective way. But oftentimes we put all of our effort and focus on, technology and ignore the change management and the people aspect of it. What stories can you tell around this to our audience?
Yeah. I think two things comes to mind when we talk about kind of the third fail point of ignoring the people or the impact on the people. One angle is really ignoring the end users or the constituents, different personas who are impacted or part of this process, right? I think going with a user-centricity approach, which we deployed in Mars 3-4 years ago, and now it's embedded in every single problem identification and solutioning, is really starting with the users in mind. In a source to pay implementation, suppliers are your users, requisitioners, approvers, buyers, finance, right? Accounts payable portion. There are multiple different personas that you need to cater for and simplify the life, right? Otherwise, the risk that you are running is the adoption. You deploy a very sexy, nice tool with a very just good looking user interface that nobody uses, right? And it will not deliver the business value at the end of the day. So when you talk about the people, I think, again, if I distill it, it's just two key points. One, involving the right personas and the individuals in identifying the business problem and designing it, and two, over investing in the change management once that end solution is in place so that you have a broad-based adoption. You cannot involve all 10,000 requisitioners into a design session or a problem identification, but when you deploy the solution, deploy the new process, the new technology, you need all 10,000 of them to adopt and use it rather than bypassing the solution. So I think the people subject for me, Alpar, is a twofold discussion. One, really being user-centric and involving all different personas into the design and implementation. Two, over-indexing on the change management once you have the solution handy so that the adoption gets done and hence the business results trickle down.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this one also goes hand in hand with the previous point, which is about simplicity, right? So I think, having the end user in mind, and to your point, end user are comes in different shapes and forms, whether it's your, stakeholders, the budget holders who are putting through through a requisition, or it's a supplier who's receiving a PO, try to submit an invoice against it, or it's your finance, try to look up your spending information and try to drive some compliance. So having different personas, to your point, in mind, and simplifying and thinking from their perspective, how does this tool or this platform or this change going to impact their life? And also maybe taking a bit of a phased approach, to your point, a change management focus, rather than do a big bang rollout, and looking at where to start, contain it, learn from it, evolve, and then build on that success is really, really important. I've seen so many stories where try to do a broader rollout all at the same time without having any learnings from it. You lose the point, and then eventually it doesn't succeed, it doesn't sustain.
Yeah.
And then I think looking for feature set and functionality in your tool selection, I would encourage everyone to look for simplicity, usability, and ability to configure towards that is more important than what feature and functionality that you get from a tool. So I think people is the number one reason why these initiatives fail, and we need to take that into consideration and invest enough, thinking and change management into our efforts.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Mert, for this conversation, and thank you to our audience for listening and tune in to us. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us. And thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, Alpar. Source to pay is my passion area. I spent my entire career in it. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. Have a great day.
Excellent. Bye-bye.